Okay, the next project on my 1992 Dodge W250 is to install a tachometer, and got a tachometer from ISSPRO or ISSPRO, I don't know how you pronounce that, but this is a 3000 RPM tach, and the way I'm going to mount this is a classic tach. This is the part number for it there, R8501. That's the classic tachometer. And then the way I'm going to mount this is the autometer gauge pod for first generation and second generation Dodge trucks. This just slips over the top of the steering column, so it's directly in view with your speedometer. This autometer, we got this from Gino's garage, as well as this easy to use wiring harness. So this, if you have a 92 and 93 Dodge truck, this will plug in directly to the factory harness, where there was the option for the dealer installed tach, and there's 4 pins here depending on the gauge that you get. The classic gauge you use, as it's described right here, the white plug instead of the yellow plug if you get the EV tach. So in this case we're using the 4 wires and the white plug instead of the yellow plug. So this one will just be hanging out and not doing anything. And then on the back of the gauge, there's room for a light bulb to light up the face of the gauge. And there's no filter in this. I shined a white LED in the back of this, and it looked like a little bit of an offset green almost, but I'm pretty sure it was just white. And to match, I just did the rest of my dash bulbs with the green LEDs. I bought this off of superbrightleds.com. This is the green LED to match the rest of my dash bulbs, as well as this is just the housing for the bulb. And we're hoping to fit this in the back of this somehow, and just wire it up. Bought the tachometer from thehungrydiesel.com and the gauge pod from Gino's garage, as well as this wiring harness. As you can see here, the gauge itself, when it's inserted into the gauge pod completely, hits the back where it's supposed to have the light housing there. So we're going to have to figure something out and maybe trim the light housing and mount what we got here for the bulb. So that'll sit in flush, and then we'll have a green light for the face. So we're going to have to do a little bit of trimming to figure this out. Okay, so we've completely chopped off the housing for the lamp. Recommend to use a nice sharp set of tin snips. The classic style, this is the way you're going to be hooking up your wiring with the suggested wiring harness. We have soldered and shrink tubed everything. So these are the lamp wires. The blue is the positive for the lamp, which connects directly to the green on that supplied wiring harness, and then the black ties into the black, and then white to white and red to red. And then now that we have soldered and shrink tubed everything, we're just going to wrap up those wires with some you can use electrical tape, or this is wire wrap, which doesn't have there's no stickiness to it. And then we'll wire it, or we'll put it in place, and we're running the wires through the bottom part of the column here, so it's hidden, and then we'll tie it in at the bottom. Following the guide to the factory harness, we're just going to take the 4 wires and then come underneath the dash here and find where the factory harness is located. And it is, you can see just back in here, it should be taped to something. Where is it? There it is, right there. And it's so handy that the wiring harness that we are using just so happens to have the connectors to slip on here, each one of those, and then we'll hook it up according to the diagram supplied for each one, and then we'll just tape the other one away so it doesn't make bad ground anywhere or short out. Okay, so I've slipped those connections on the 4 wires, and then I taped the 5th wire, if you have the EV tach, out of the way, just so it doesn't short out by touching anything. Now, before we button everything up, we should test it and see if the gauge works and the light, and then we can clean everything up and button it up. Alright, so we've buttoned everything up now and tested the tach, and it all works. Put this piece on with some 2-phase tape and zip tied all of our wires up. Here's what the finished product looks like. That's with the steering column tilted all the way up. And this is about where I have it when I'm driving, so this is the view that you have. And as you can see, it only really blocks out anything above 145 kilometers an hour, which you're never really doing anyways, so. Cool. Okay, here's the test in the dark of dash lights and tachometer with new dash light installed. So here's just a quick look at the lights. Pretty cool. Now let's start it up and see how the tachometer works. Awesome. Okay, that's how you install a tachometer on 1st gen Cummins. Hopefully this helps. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more videos.